Hey, hello. In this video tutorial I will be reading from a phone and I'll be using the Google Classroom where the document of slow down your yoga and activate innate healing appears. It's a short course and we can cover easily the content of the PDF manual by reading through it in under an hour. However, to actually learn and understand this aspect of innate healing, which is in fact the very reason why many people start doing yoga, to recover from some kind of injury or to find some psychological peace or a spiritual connection, for instance. These are all aspects of healing, but they're also processes. Life is a process in the making. Yoga is no different, it's part of life. So when we speak about innate healing to our clients, or when we think about it for ourselves, or we mention it to someone, we should understand that there may be also an innate skepticism around this, because while it is true that normally for a healthy person, when we get a scratch on the body or we break an arm, that normally grows back or the skin grows back, innate healing means that there's a part in the body that recovers by itself. So when we rest and we wake up recharged the next day, that's innate healing as well. So innate healing is what the body does when you sleep or rest, and it does it anyway, almost regardless of what you do. So despite what we do that's self-destructive, the body makes every effort to balance this. However, when the entropy or the destruction is bigger than the healing capacity that the body has, we go downhill. We not only age, but we maybe age less gracefully, or we have more ailments and more issues and more problems as we go along. So slowing down our yoga is a way to open up the spaces in our mind, in our observation, in our hearts, in our yoga practice, so that we can open up to activate or help the body activate this innate healing. So essentially, to use a fairly crude example, if you would take 1 hour extra every day in addition to whatever amount of time that you're setting aside for yourself, and either sleep, rest, or meditate or exercise gently in that hour, then you are helping your body with its innate healing. That is the motivation or the basis of slowing down your yoga. So ideally we need to practice yoga for an hour a day, which is a lot of time if you don't have a lot of time. However, if you think of an hour in context of a 24-hour day, that hour is the 24th of the day. But, and it's a real but, in an 8-hour work day and a 4-hour whatever it is that we need to do, chores or getting to work and chores and so on, 1 hour out of 12 seems quite a lot, and if we're working, as many of us do, at 2 jobs, then an hour out of 16 hours even becomes a lot. So granted, we have to figure out ways to slow down our practice, or we have to somehow change our lives in such a way that we can slow it down just enough to help activate innate healing. Be that as may, in terms of how do we fit this into our lives, the slow down yoga as a style of yoga is not really a thing. There isn't such a thing as the slow yoga movement. It's just the style of yoga that I resonate with. and that I've always loved, and the style that I taught myself when I trained myself in yoga, and fortunately the style of yoga that I was taught in when I studied yoga. And one of the key aspects of this Sivananda, which is a Hatha yoga, one of the big traditional lineages of the 20th century, Swami Sivananda integrated the wisdom of the Vedas and Patanjali and just about every possible Indian spiritual wisdom and physical, compatible with easy, slow yoga that you could figure out to box into a system. And one of the great wisdoms of this yoga that I was taught was that for every hour in a yoga class or in our own practice, we need to put about 15 minutes into relaxation. If we look at that of some kind of relaxing practice, including meditation, for instance, it doesn't have to be in Shavasana. 5 minutes of Shavasana is good for an hour. And when we look at the ratio, we can see that the human body and the human mind requires a fair amount of time to unwind and connect in consciousness for it to have a balanced well-being. So when we say slow down our yoga, there's a whole series of podcasts that I discuss with my colleague Candace, who co-hosts this course. And we do this online. She's in the US and I am here in Cape Town. And we've been working together online to establish these ideas, because this is what it is, an idea of slowing down our yoga in such a way that we can share it with more people. So semi-formalizing the format of slow yoga. And the biggest aspect of this is it's not necessarily a formal concept, but it definitely is a philosophy or an idea, a way of being. So when we slow down a fraction, it can have a radically positive effect on our general well-being, but also in terms of how we view our own practice in our lives. Slow down yoga, why does this work like that? It taps into the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is an important aspect of our nervous system that helps us slow down, literally, and recover or go into digestive mode rather than fight or flight. So fight or flight is that sort of catch word that's been used a lot to describe what it's like to be stressed or in stressful mode. When we're in that stress mode, the body is defensive, or it's amped up in some kind of a way that speeds us up or amplifies our adrenal energy, which is exactly what happens when we're constantly stressed to the point of burnout, because we're burning the candle on both ends. Unless we slow down effectively, we will suffer from adrenal fatigue or exhaustion. Right, so when we understand that we can use the breath in yoga to calm the nerves, we can understand that this is literally a switch that we can flip that has a fairly rapid result in terms of changing the nervous system to slower. So generally when we inhale a large breath, holding that breath, and I invite you to do that with me, I'm still holding the same breath, then exhaling through the mouth and inhaling normally in the nose, normally yoga, and exhale through the nose. When we close our eyes and we're bringing our attention in ourselves, within, take another large inhale through the nose, and with a large exhale, and then slowly open your eyes, you've effectively slowed yourself down. Incorporating these types of practices, techniques into our yoga practice will effectively help us resolve the fight or flight response that's become a default setting for the modern human being. When we think about these statements, such as what I've said, the default setting of a normal modern human being may well be stress or fight or flight. We can think about it, we can sense it. Is it true for us? Do I observe this in others? If yes, what can I do to change it? If I can feel the change and I can carry on with my life as if I'm doing the same external actions but something internally has shifted, then that would be an understanding that's useful to share with others and a useful aspect to share in a yoga class, or we can devise our yoga in such a way that it shares this wisdom, which is the wisdom of yoga. Alright, so when I wrote this little short course, I said that our holistic development is the result of care and love. Holistic development means the development of the whole, so that is us, the whole of our being, body, mind, and spirit, and our lives, and our work, and our family, and our fun things that we do, and the other things that we don't like to do. It's also holistically the environment that we're in, nature, our homes. It's also our communities. Hence the yoga of service helps us to be holistically integrated. And perhaps more importantly, our holistic connection means to be guided by a higher being so that we are more whole, that we come from a place of evolution or higher place. So when we say that holistic development is the result of care and love, and that's slowing down to awareness of this and making the time to go within, and then taking the effort to share the fruits of what we discover there within, that's the whole yoga. So Swami Sivananda beautifully said that in service, giving and meditation, experiencing love, we can receive the grace. The grace referring to the capital G grace of self-realization. That's a really important aspect of the style of yoga. So coupling with this, we do right action and the knowledge of how this practice works. Right action includes doing our yoga properly, efficiently, safely, and understanding how this philosophy works. So you don't have to be a major person in philosophy, or be an absolutely brilliant practitioner of Hatha yoga, or be able to hold your breath for a long time, or be a perfect human being in a normal day-to-day situation. It's really about the awareness of who and what you are as a human being, and how we can use our yoga practice and the wisdom of the body to not be constantly stressed, to be able to find the ability to slow down. So the discussion points in the slower yoga, which comes at the end of the document, but I'd like to look at it now, is the first one I put there was, how does slow yoga look? And for example, are there specific asana sequences? So no, there aren't specific practices other than the basis of the practice, which I've mentioned and which you experience. I invited you to feel the breath. is that when we breathe on an exhale to release our tension, mental, emotional, physical tension, then we're enabling ourselves to enter into slower yoga within. So it's an attitude, a way of practicing, not so much a specific asana sequence. However, we can use yin style yoga as a basis. The Shivananda yoga style basis is generally beautifully suited to slow yoga. The main principle of a slower form of yoga is, and you'll hear this when you listen to the podcasts that I discuss with Candace, the virtues of slowing down and gentle yoga. So I won't go into that too much detail, so please do take a listen to the podcasts that are linked as well into this classroom. The reason for the discussion points is also so that whenever we have these ideas that come up, as I said, we can easily read through 10 pages or a document, or do a workshop of an hour, or do a yoga class of an hour. What makes the deeper experience possible is when we're taking notes mentally and when we're activating our body intelligence. So I want to specifically then bring in that idea again, that our body intelligence is our innate healing. So when we allow the body to digest by slowing down and not being stressed, the body will digest, whether that's physical food in the stomach, or whether that is a thought or an idea, or whether it's an integration to soul. So we can go into meditation and ask higher self to help us heal, and then that's going to take some time. So there's a certain amount of instant digestion, happens over a couple of hours after a meal. There's also an ongoing process of digestion, and the better we learn to develop the right amount of nutrients, probiotics and so on, and breathing, especially in yoga, then the more easily our yoga will evolve to a more purposeful and effective practice. So when I say let's look at slow yoga discussion points in the document, this is the type of awareness that I like students to have in yoga classes, but also on the yoga courses. Be that to learn about yoga teacher training, how to train others, and also how to train ourselves, or how for ourselves to be more aware. Alright, I'm sitting here on the floor and just trying to get a bit more comfortable. So these are one of the main benefits of a softer way of doing yoga, because it helps us to develop this contemplative mindset. Contemplative is that it's a process of cognitive awareness as well as intuitive. Something we feel in the heart, but we can make sense of it mentally. And it must sit with us emotionally. When we work like that, we start to experience our innate intelligence, which isn't only the body and the physical digestion, as I say, but the innate intelligence that we were drawn to in the first place, because yoga is an amazing, magnificent system. When we use our advanced yoga practices, so for instance the mudras, or extended pranayama, then we start to see that our slow yoga is uniquely suited to advanced yoga as well. So from the discussion points, I'm going to move up higher into the document, where I said that slow yoga helps the yogi to advance. So it helps the beginner to advance to a next level. It also helps the advanced yogi to go to a next level. So the most advanced yoga, as far as I'm concerned, is profound. The more profound, often the more simple. Mastery is a mixture of skills and wisdom, and the ability to harness innate energy, body, wisdom, as well as the life force, and how to channel these together. And this doesn't involve brute force. It involves refined skill. So for that we're using the concept of pranayama, not more difficult asana, but doing asana better with more relaxation. I like to use the phrase looseness, agility, suppleness, not how much you can straighten your legs and so on in every posture, but how supple can you get in and out of a posture, for instance. Deep relaxation, the ability to stand and relax in a difficult posture, or the ability to sit and relax in a cross-legged position, the ability to relax in shavasana, and add an element of meditation, either in all of the above or in an exclusive or specific meditation practice. So there what I've done is I've turned an aspect or a paragraph with a few short points in our manual, a little PDF note called Slow Yoga Helps the Yogi to Advance. I've turned that into a discussion point, and this is the kind of yoga awareness that I'd like to work with in yoga teacher training. So then there are a couple of more points at the slow discussion points, slow yoga discussion points, which we're discussing rather fast. General yoga is therapeutic by default. By default, it's therapeutic because when we're going slower, we're taking care, we're not harassing ourselves, we're gently letting the body unfold into whatever practice we're busy with. But very importantly, we're activating the body to a restful mode where it can begin healing. And that is the slowing down away from stress or adrenal fatigue. That's also the slowing down where we're not busy, so it's the same as sleeping and resting. But it's also moving slow enough. For instance, if I make that movement with the frozen shoulder, and even if my shoulder is frozen and I can move the body like that, then that movement is therapeutic because it's mimicking a movement that I would be able to make with my shoulder joint if the joint isn't frozen. So in therapeutic yoga, you say, yeah, I can't do push-ups with this frozen shoulder, and I definitely can't do arm swings. But I can maybe lift the arm up and support it, and then move the hand. And if you're the kind of person that says, well, that's really like ridiculous because I want to loosen my shoulder, and now I'm supposed to move my hand and be happy with that, then you've got another aspect to look at, and that is your inability to realize like this is a whole part from the fingers to the body. So you need to slow down enough, look in the mirror, mentally or physically in the bathroom, and go, hey, how can I move this shoulder? So how can I be a yoga therapist? How can I be a physiotherapist? So moving that joint and the muscles around it and the energy that flows was meant to flow through it could come in 100,000 different ways, but that's yoga, therapeutic yoga. So that's a really, really important of slow yoga. So when you have an injury, you can't go fast, you must go slow. And that is therapeutic. The psychological slowing down, as well as the fact that you're actually physically doing slower practices. The gentle yoga is therapeutic by default, but there can also be intentional healing. By intentional healing, I mean we can set a healing intention. So generally when one goes to yoga class, as I mentioned earlier, people are often drawn to yoga because they sense that it's going to help them with their reaching potential. They sense that it can help them release stress, or somebody told them that they're going to lose weight or look better, or their skin's going to clear up, and so on and so on and so on. So for whatever reason we intend to reach something when we go to do something. Yoga is no different. The intentional healing that I refer to is also the kind that you do when you close your eyes and you pray, or you ask for, however you want to see that as a connection It's making a connection to something, someone, a life force, your own higher being, your own willpower, so that you can draw yourself towards yourself, gather your strength, your forces, so that you can reach to the next level, which may be just one step up from the bottom of the pit, or it may be a giant leap for mankind on the moon. It's irrelevant. It's about movement, and it's about moving in the direction of healing. Yoga, slow yoga specifically, is beautifully an aspect of this kind of therapeutic, intentional yoga healing. So again, I'm going to scroll back up to the beginnings of this course. And I mentioned now advanced yoga. Now I'm going to go back to the easiest level of yoga, which is the beginner yoga, which may be the very first time a person comes to a yoga class, or when you go to a yoga class or went to one. And that says that, I'm still looking for it. Slow yoga for remedial purposes was that. I'm just going to remember it and not look for it. I'll tell you just now. So beginner friendly is the kind of yoga that's often thought of as too simple, too easy. My understanding of beginner yoga is that it's the Zen saying, Zen beginner mind. We always should be in a beginner's mind. So totally, if you're adept at yoga, you don't want to go to a yoga class where the teacher explains every basic principle. But when we go to a yoga class where we can practice on our own, and it's slow enough, and whether we have never done yoga, whether we're stiff, whether we're in a slightly lopsided or not such great condition, especially when we're not in a great condition, it affords us an opportunity to have a leg up into yoga when it's slow enough. When we can do yoga and we're doing yoga that's quite slow, it affords us an opportunity to re-evaluate, reinterpret, and give ourselves a space where we can find our innate rest, or the healing potential of our innate restfulness. I still want to find what I wrote here. So if you could just bear with me, please. The bottom line is that slower yoga is beginner friendly. This is what I wrote. This is not what I wrote. I'll edit this piece. I may have lost it. Yay! Slow yoga. Beginner friendly and effective. Gentle yoga is definitely not only for older or unfit people. When done properly, with focus and care, as with any other style of yoga, a gentle yoga style, beginner friendly and effective. Gentle yoga is definitely not only for older or unfit people. When done properly, with focus and care, as with any style of yoga, a gentle yoga style may produce ample strength and agility. So the important thing is we can learn lessons in slower yoga that we can apply in faster actions. So that's like when we learn anything new, how to cut with a knife, how to go fast with a mountain bike, or how to speak to a child or how to connect to our ailing grandparents and stuff like that. We're learning slowly, and then we can apply the same skill in a situation where we need to go faster. Right, so as with any style of yoga, gentle yoga may produce ample strength and agility. Bear in mind that in many instances it may even result in a more relaxed and supple body than some of the tougher yogas are able to deliver. That is something that you have to figure out for yourself through your own practice and understanding. The best way to do this is, as I say, learning by our own example. When we do 10 push-ups, we feel different to when we lie on the belly, do a chaturanga, gently place the hips to the floor, and then going into a cobra, soft down dog, take the feet through between the hands and lie on your back. So if you can think about a sequence like that, you can always hit replay and listen to that. The idea is that we can learn to practice in a gentle way that will help us, assist us to unlock tension from the body. When we master that level or degree of practice, we can apply it in other contexts faster. Okay, hope that makes sense. So that has to be clear for us. Again, we're learning over a period of time, not all in one lesson. Then the final aspect of this module, tutorial, online video that I'm working with here. Then I'd like to conclude this tutorial with a comment that I have here about slow yoga. As a header, it says, slow yoga opens our practice to the spirit of yoga. So that spirit of yoga is what I refer to as innate healing, innate intelligence, connecting to soul, soul connecting to source, who we really are and what is yoga intended for. Something we have to work out for ourselves. I'm going to read from the document. An effective and comprehensive hatha yoga practice has always, in principle, promoted asana and a gentle and loving, relaxed way of living as the reason for its practice. All of that. The asana isn't done so that we can be super flexible and impress people on a most banal level. It's also not simply done so that we can be flexible and agile, so we can do amazing things on weekends, climbing rocks and stuff like that. It can be that. Maybe it can be that and a lot of other aspects of just happy living and being physical. But it's also specifically so we can generate, unlock our innate ability to be gentle, loving and relaxed. That's higher being or higher living or consciousness being. So the very important quality of ahimsa, which is also found in the Patanjali system of do's and don'ts, one of the cornerstones of yoga practice is often thought of as non-violence. In truth, it's also self-love and love in general, gentle. It's not simply the absence of violence or destruction, it's also the presence of love and grace. You can read what I wrote there. It's an indication of the development of self-love and transcending love of God. Namaste. God is in me, God is in you, of universal consciousness. This is the tremendous wisdom of the Vedas, or the whole yoga, and the union of all that is. And this is what the slow yoga is about of this course. We'll bring our hands to prayer at the chest in our own awareness of what we've accomplished in our lives, in our yoga practice, up to this point in our lives and our yoga practice, as we look forward to take this union of body, mind and spirit towards this next level of innate healing and our innate human intelligence, human being intelligence, being an intelligent human being. And we're in great gratitude and appreciation of yoga and its wisdom. We're taking in a large breath and a big exhale. And slowly opening our eyes. And thank you for joining this course.